This is the Voice of the Worker, bringing you the news for May 14th, 2025. This news is current as of 0100 Pacific Daylight Time, 0400 Eastern Daylight Time, 0900 British Summer Time, 1100 Moscow Standard Time, 1600 China Standard Time, and 1700 Japan Standard Time. The Yemen-based Ansar Allah, at times referred to as the Houthis, is reporting as of 1100 hours Yemen time that it has once again hit the Ben Gurion airport in Tel Aviv with a hypersonic missile. This marks the third strike within 24 hours. Due to the breaking nature of the news, additional information currently is limited. It is confirmed currently, per Sputnik News, that air raid sirens are blaring across Tel Aviv, with millions of residents under an advisory to seek shelter. This comes as within the last hour, U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet the new interim leader of Syria, Ahmed al-Sharaa, who recently came to power after a NATO-backed coup against the longtime Syrian president Bashar al-Assad. This meeting comes as the United States is intending to lift sanctions on the Middle Eastern nation in an attempt to normalize relations. This is the first meeting between the leader of Syria and the United States since the year 2000. According to the Associated Press, Israeli officials have confirmed that during Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the United States last month, he requested that Donald Trump not lift sanctions against Syria. Turning our attention to the Korean Peninsula, Kim Jong-un, leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea, is currently overseeing military readiness drills at the Capital City Defense Corps training camp. This is according to the Korean Central News Agency. The leader of the DPRK has recently been emphasizing the need to ensure the Korean People's Army continues their efforts in modernizing the military, as well as keeping their forces ready for both conventional and novel forms of combat. As we transition into our first break, we invite you to listen to the DPRK song, The Soldiers Answered. Russian President Vladimir Putin has again announced Russia's readiness for direct negotiations with Ukraine on the 15th of May. This is a sharp counter to the continued demands of NATO and Ukraine for a 30-day ceasefire. With this proposal, the Russian state is presenting Ukraine's Zelensky to either show that he is committed to achieving peace in his country, or he will be working to confirm the Russian concern that a 30-day ceasefire would solely be used to rearm and reorganize the currently drained Ukrainian armed forces. Putin has consistently emphasized the fact, if this conflict is to end, what he refers to as, quote, the root cause of the conflict, end quote, must be addressed, something that will require active, good-faith negotiation and an actual willingness from Ukrainian and Western leadership to see a diplomatic end to the special military operation. The offer for direct negotiations with no preconditions have also been endorsed by the Foreign Ministry of the People's Republic of China, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, United States President Donald Trump, and Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico, among many other world leaders. In other news, according to the Global Times, a recent exhibition in Yokohama, Japan, has showcased the horrific war crimes committed by the Japanese military against Chinese citizens, principally during the Second World War. The Japanese state has continually attempted to whitewash its own history of imperial plunder and inhuman savagery. 80 years have passed since this brutality was forced to be stopped, not via diplomatic resolution, but by extreme military measures. With that said, however, not once have Japanese authorities accepted the blame for the atrocities they chose to commit. In their recent article on the subject, the Global Times explains that Japan has a tendency to host what they refer to as, quote, joint commemorations, end quote, one where the victim and the perpetrator are often blurred, one where the generic horror of war is highlighted, but who committed the horrors are conveniently forgotten. In this article, they explain, quote, Japan must first admit and fully reflect upon its wartime guilt. The proper commemoration begins with a clear separation of perpetrator and victim, with Japan assuming its undeniable responsibility. The millions across Asia who were invaded, slaughtered, and brutalized ask for nothing but the truth. End quote. The history of the Second World War is a history of heroism, from the streets of Stalingrad to the resistant efforts of Nanjing. However, it also is a history of inhumane behavior, one that is an essential aspect of fascist rule, regardless of the nation of origin or their initial motivations. Remembering the Second World War requires us to identify who are responsible for the world's liberation and who brought it to the brink of destruction. Thank you for listening to today's program. As we conclude, we invite you to listen to a Chinese song from the Second World War entitled The Sword March. Revolutionary greetings from the Voice of the Worker.
我中华同胞，挥起大刀冲向前，誓死把敌人全杀完。挥起大刀冲向前，还我英雄还我歌声。挥起大刀冲向前，为了母亲，为了家园。挥起大刀冲向前，中